Mom found out how much I make working as a finance consultant and shows up at my apartment asking for her share with golden child brother, so I finally snapped and told her the golden child brother she's so proud of isn't even hers, and oh boy. When I was growing up, it was obvious to everyone who the golden child was in my family. My brother Andrew could do no wrong in my mom's eyes. If he got a C in school, it was the teacher's fault. If I got an A, it was because I wasn't doing enough extracurriculars. My mom would brag about Andrew's football career, while dismissing my academic achievements as nerd stuff. I can't say it didn't bother me, but after a while, you just learn to deal with it, or at least I thought I had. Let me paint you a clearer picture of what growing up was like. Every morning before school, Mom would make Andrew these elaborate breakfasts: French toast, fresh fruit arrangements, the works. Meanwhile, I'd be lucky if there was any milk left for my cereal. When report cards came out, my straight A's would get a nod while Andrew's C+ in English somehow warranted a celebratory dinner because he really tried his best. Even during Christmas, the presents under the tree told the same story. Andrew would get mountains of carefully wrapped gifts, while I'd usually end up with practical stuff like socks or school supplies. The favoritism got even more obvious after Dad got sick. I was 16, and Andrew was 14 when Dad was diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer. Those last 2 years of high school were brutal. While I was juggling AP classes, a part-time job at the local library, and helping take care of Dad, Mom was constantly focused on making sure Andrew didn't get too stressed by the situation. She even hired a private tutor to help him maintain his C average because he's sensitive and needs extra support. Meanwhile, I was staying up until 3 a.m. studying after spending hours helping Dad with his medication and cleaning up around the house. Dad passed away during my senior year, just 2 months before graduation. I remember Mom barely acknowledged my valedictorian speech because Andrew was having a really hard time and needed her attention. He ended up skipping the ceremony entirely, claiming it was too emotional for him, and Mom stayed home with him instead of watching me graduate. That one hurt more than I like to admit. The college years were a whole other level of unfair. Despite having a college fund set up by Dad before he passed, which mysteriously disappeared, Mom claimed it was used up by medical bills. I had to scramble for scholarships and student loans. Meanwhile, Mom somehow found money to send Andrew to an expensive football academy in New York for a summer program, which he quit after 3 weeks because the vibe wasn't right. That program cost more than my entire freshman year tuition. I worked my butt off in college, full course load, dean's list every semester plus 2 part-time jobs, one at the campus library during the day and another waiting tables at night. I lived off ramen and coffee, sharing a tiny apartment with 3 other students to save money. During this time, Andrew was living at home rent-free, finding himself through various expensive hobbies that Mom happily funded. There was the pottery phase, complete with a $2,000 wheel that's now collecting dust in the garage. The photography period, Mom bought him a professional-grade camera, and let's not forget the brief stint as a professional food critic, which mostly involved Mom paying for expensive restaurants. After graduating summa cum laude, I landed an entry-level position at a consulting firm. The starting salary wasn't great, but I was determined to make it work. I lived in a sketchy studio apartment, took the bus everywhere, and brown-bagged my lunches. Every spare dollar went towards paying off my student loans or building my emergency fund. Meanwhile, Andrew was on his 5th career change. This time deciding he wanted to be a yoga instructor. Mom of course paid for his certification, equipment, and even rented a small studio space for him, which he used for exactly 3 months before deciding he wasn't feeling fulfilled. The thing is, I didn't even mind their dynamic that much anymore because I'd created my own life. I had good friends, a growing career, my own space. I kept my distance from family stuff, showing up for major holidays with a generic gift card and leaving before the drama could start. It worked for everyone, or so I thought. Over the past few years, I've really hit my stride professionally through a combination of hard work, strategic job moves, and some lucky breaks. I worked my way up to senior consultant. I managed to pay off my student loans early and even began building a decent investment portfolio. For the first time in my life, I felt financially secure. I'm not flashy about my success. I drive a used Honda, live in a modest but nice apartment, and my biggest splurge is probably my weekly therapy sessions, which honestly have been worth every penny. But I guess word gets around, especially in the age of social media. The confrontation that happened last Saturday had actually been brewing for a while. A week before, I'd gotten some weird texts from Andrew asking about investment advice and whether I could help him start a business. I brushed them off with vague responses because I knew where that road led. Then Mom started calling more frequently, making odd comments about how successful children support their parents and sending me articles about family wealth management. So when they showed up at my door that Saturday morning, I wasn't completely surprised, just disappointed. Opening the door to find Mom and Andrew standing there felt like a scene from a bad movie. Mom didn't even wait for an invitation before pushing past me into my apartment. First thing she did was look around and make a comment about how fancy my place was. It's really not, just a regular 2-bedroom apartment with IKEA furniture. Andrew flopped down on my couch like he owned the place, already scrolling through his phone. Then came the bombshell. Mom pulled out an actual spreadsheet. Yeah, she really did that, breaking down what she called my family obligations. She had calculated that I owed her roughly $150,000 for raising
Ah,
me.
me pego igual.
Apparently, she kept receipts for everything from my childhood medical bills to school supplies. Plus, she wanted me to invest in Andrew's newest business idea, some sort of crystal healing spa concept that would only need about $75,000 to get started. The whole time she was talking, I could feel this weird calm settling over me. You know that moment in movies where everything goes quiet right before all hell breaks loose? It was exactly like that. I let her finish her whole presentation. I watched her show me her calculations, listened to Andrew chime in about how this was my chance to finally be a good sibling and how mom guilt-tripped me about how dad would have wanted me to take care of the family. That's when I lost it, like, really lost it. I started with the college fund, asked her point blank what really happened to dad's savings. She muttered something about medical bills, but I reminded her that dad's insurance had covered most of those. Then, I brought up every football class, every expensive hobby, every time she had chosen Andrew over me. I even pulled up my old student loan statements on my phone to show her exactly how much debt I'd had to take on while she was bankrolling Andrew's finding himself faces. But the real kicker, I had something I'd been holding on to for years, something dad told me during one of our last conversations when the morphine had made him more honest than he'd ever been. He confessed that Andrew wasn't actually mom's biological son. Apparently, while mom had been away on a long business trip about 15 years into their marriage, dad had a brief affair with someone from his office. 9 months later, Andrew arrived. The moment I said it, the room went dead silent. Mom's face turned this weird shade of purple I'd never seen before. Andrew just sat there, mouth open, phone forgotten in his lap. Then he started crying, not his usual dramatic sobs, but quiet, sharp tears. Mom started yelling, calling me a liar, saying I was making things up to hurt them, but I wasn't done. I pulled out my phone and showed them the email I'd saved from last year, results that I'd gotten done for health reasons, showing Andrew and I were only half siblings. I'd never planned to reveal this. It was dad's secret to take to his grave and I've respected that for years, but something about their entitled attitude, the spreadsheet, the demands, it just broke something in me. I told them both to leave. Mom was still shouting, but Andrew just got really quiet and started pulling her towards the door before they left. He turned back and asked if I was sure about the DNA results. I just nodded. Ever since then, the situation has been intense. My phone's been blowing up with texts and calls from both of them, random family members who've heard various versions of what happened. Mom's been telling everyone I'm lying to get out of family obligations, while Andrew has gone completely silent on social media. A first for him. I've blocked most of their numbers and social media accounts. I'm sitting here in my apartment, alternating between feeling guilty about spilling dad's secret and feeling relieved that everything's finally out in the open. Part of me wonders if I should have just written them a check to make them go away, but I know that wouldn't have solved anything in the long run. Did I go too far? Should I have just kicked them out without saying anything? I've been carrying this secret for so long, maybe it wasn't my place to tell it. But watching them waltz into my home, demanding money like they were entitled to it after years of favoritism and emotional neglect, I just couldn't hold it in anymore. Am I the one who messed up here? You guys, first off, thank you for all the support on my original post. I'm still trying to process everything that's happened in the last 48 hours and let me tell you, it's been a roller coaster. I honestly thought the worst was behind me after I dropped that bombshell, but it turns out the fallout is just getting started. Andrew is still radio silent, which doesn't exactly shock me. He's never been the kind of person to confront things head on, especially when it comes to messy family drama. Avoidance has always been his go-to. That said, I did hear from one of our cousins recently and surprise, Andrew hasn't been totally quiet. He apparently reached out to them and not to apologize or even try to understand my side of things. Nope. He's been venting about how unfair this whole situation is and how I ruined his life. Hearing that felt like a punch in the gut. I guess I shouldn't have expected anything else though. It's easier for Andrew to paint me as the bad guy than to face the fact that this secret was bound to come out eventually. What hurt the most wasn't even the blame he's placing on me. It was when my cousin told me Andrew had said he doesn't think mom will ever forgive him if she believes what I've said. That part hit differently. For someone who's had every ounce of mom's attention, love and support all these years, it feels like he's suddenly afraid of losing his golden child status. And then there's mom. She's clinging to denial like it's the only thing keeping her afloat.
But I'll take it.
As far as she's concerned, I'm some master manipulator who made this whole thing up to get out of helping them financially. That's her story, and she's sticking to it. It's frustrating because the claim is so absurd. It would be laughable if it weren't so damaging. The worst part is I can see why she's doing it. If she admits that this is true, she has to face the fact that dad, the man she loved and built a life with, betrayed her. She has to accept that her family wasn't the perfect picture she's always believed it to be, and that's a lot to handle. For a moment, I can almost feel bad for her. I mean, imagine finding out that the person you love most in the world, who's now gone and can't defend themselves or explain their actions, kept such a massive secret from you. That kind of betrayal would be enough to break anyone. I get why she's angry and hurt and why she's lashing out, but then she takes all that pain and points it directly at me. She's running around telling anyone who will listen that I'm selfish, heartless and just looking for an excuse to abandon the family. That sympathy I might have felt? Yeah. It evaporates quickly when she does stuff like that. And look, I've seen some of the comments people left on my original post, so let me address something. I do not condone what my dad did. Cheating is wrong, plain and simple, and I'm not here to defend his actions. But what exactly was I supposed to do when he told me the truth on his deathbed? Was I supposed to blow up the family while he was literally dying? Could you imagine the fallout from that? It would have been chaos. And frankly, I don't think anyone would have thanked me for it. And even after he passed, what options did I really have? By that point, I'd already been pushed to the fringes of the family. They didn't take me seriously then, so why would they have believed me if I'd spoken up? They'd have written me off the same way they're doing now, calling me a liar, accusing me of trying to stir up trouble. It's like I was set up to lose no matter what I did. I'm tired of being the scapegoat for everyone's feelings. I didn't create this situation. I didn't cheat. I didn't lie. I didn't ask to carry this secret for all these years. All I did was finally put the truth out there. And somehow, I'm the one who's ruined everything. It's exhausting. If Mom and Andrew want to keep blaming me for their pain, that's on them. I'm done trying to fix things or make them see the bigger picture. At the end of the day, I know I didn't do anything wrong and that's what I'm holding on to. Let them twist the story however they need to make themselves feel better. I'm not playing their game anymore. Anyway, Mom wasn't done just yet. Her reaction has been an absolute disaster. Over the last 2 days, she cycled through every possible emotion. First, there was the denial. She sent me this flood of drunk texts accusing me of destroying the family with lies. Then came the anger. She started calling me from random numbers just to yell at me. Then I blocked those and she switched to emails, which were just as aggressive. Then we moved on to bargaining. She actually said she'd forgive me if I admitted I made it all up. I didn't respond to any of it, which just sent her back into rage mode. She started calling extended family members, telling them I'm having some kind of mental breakdown and not to believe anything I say. And now, mostly silence. But of course, there's always something. She showed up at my uncle's house at midnight last night, drunk out of her mind, demanding to see old family photos.
One thing in this world
According to John, she spent hours comparing pictures of baby Andrew to pictures of herself as a baby, muttering about how she should have known because Andrew doesn't have her nose or her dad's red hair. It's like even in her denial, some part of her knows the truth. John said it was heartbreaking to watch, but I honestly don't know how to feel. The family, meanwhile, is a mess. My cousins are mostly staying out of it, which I respect. They've taken the none of our business approach and honestly, good for them. Mom's siblings though are on the warpath. They're fully in her corner, calling me every name in the book and accusing me of tearing the family apart. Dad's side of the family on the other hand has been surprisingly supportive. A couple of them admitted they'd always suspected something was off, but didn't say anything because they didn't want to stir up drama, and as if all that wasn't enough, I've had to deal with work drama too. My boss pulled me aside yesterday to ask if everything was okay because apparently my personal situation had made its way into office gossip. Turns out, Mom had been calling my workplace trying to get information about my salary and benefits. HR shut her down immediately, thank God, but the whole thing was mortifying. I don't even want to think about what my coworkers must think of me now. I've taken a few days off work to try to process everything, but it's hard to focus on anything when my phone keeps buzzing with messages from family members. I've muted most of them, but the guilt still lingers. I hate that things got to this point, but I don't know what else I could have done. As a precaution, I ordered one of those video doorbells just in case Mom decides to show up unannounced. I hate it's come to this, but I need to feel safe in my own home. Despite everything, there's this weird sense of relief. It's like I've been carrying this massive weight for years without even realizing it. Don't get me wrong. I still feel guilty about how everything came out. I didn't want it to happen this way, but at the same time, I can finally breathe. For the first time in forever, I feel like I'm putting myself first and it's overwhelming in the best way. So, yeah, that's where things stand right now. I'm exhausted, emotionally drained and still trying to make sense of everything, but I'm holding on to that small sense of freedom. Let's hope it lasts. Things have been oddly quiet since my last update and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or just the calm before another storm. Everything feels very still, like everyone's frozen in place, unsure of what to do next. I've blocked both Mom and Andrew at least temporarily because the constant flood of messages and calls was doing nothing but wrecking my mental health. For the first time in ages, my phone is quiet, and while it's a relief, it's also unsettling. I decided to tell my employer about the situation just in case Mom or Andrew tried to cause problems at work again. Thankfully, my boss was incredibly understanding. They assured me that HR would handle any issues and my personal life wouldn't affect my standing at the company. Still, it's humiliating to even have to explain this mess. I've worked so hard to build a professional reputation and now I'm left wondering if some of my colleagues see me as the person with family drama. I've made a conscious decision not to engage with this drama unless it directly involves me. As tempting as it is to keep tabs on what everyone's saying or doing, I know it's not healthy. Taking a step back has given me some perspective though. From the outside looking in, I can understand why both Andrew and Mom are struggling to accept this news. For Andrew, he spent his whole life being treated as the golden child, and now that pedestal is crumbling. And for Mom, finding out that your marriage wasn't what you thought it was and that the child you doted on isn't biologically yours, that's a brutal reality to face. But understanding their pain doesn't mean I'm excusing their behavior. They're both adults, and at some point, they need to take responsibility for how they're handling this. Blaming me isn't going to change the facts. The rest of the family has also been unusually quiet too. It's like everyone's waiting for someone else to make the next move. I did hear from Uncle John, who said Mom has been staying with him on and off. Apparently, she's still in denial, but she's also started going through old photo albums asking questions about Dad's past. John thinks she's trying to convince herself that this isn't true while also searching for proof that it is. It's a weird limbo, and I don't envy her one bit. I also got a message from one of Dad's old friends. She apologized for not reaching out sooner and said she felt guilty for not speaking up years ago.
Like a pen?
She told me more about the woman Dad had an affair with, Andrew's biological mother.
Yeah.
She's still in our old hometown living a quiet life as a university professor.
That and painting.
She apparently had no idea about Andrew and probably still doesn't. Part of me feels like someone should tell her, but another part of me wonders if that would just make everything even messier. For now, I'm just focusing on getting through each day. Work has been a welcome distraction, and I've been leaning on my friends more than ever. Hey, everyone. I'm sorry for disappearing for a while. After everything that's happened, I decided I needed a break from all the chaos. And, honestly, I've been trying to figure out where I stand in all of this. It's been a lot, but I think I'm finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. About a week ago, Andrew showed up at my apartment completely out of the blue. I hadn't heard a single word from him since the whole thing blew up. So to say I was shocked is an understatement. He looked like he'd been through hell. His usual polished Instagram-ready appearance was nowhere to be found. His hair was a mess. His eyes were puffy and red like he'd been crying nonstop. And he had that exhausted hollow look of someone who hasn't slept or eaten properly in days. Honestly, I almost didn't recognize him at first. And when I opened the door, he just stood there for a moment like he wasn't even sure he'd come to the right place. I didn't know what to expect. But the last thing I imagined was seeing Andrew in such a vulnerable state. He's always been the one who seems so sure of himself, so confident. But this was a side of him I'd never seen before. Once I let him in, he kind of hesitated, like he wasn't sure if he was welcome. I didn't have the energy to argue or push him away, so I just motioned for him to sit down. For a few minutes, neither of us said anything. It was awkward, but I wasn't about to make the first move. Finally, he started talking, and let me tell you, I wasn't prepared for what he had to say. After going completely radio silent on me, Andrew had apparently thrown himself into uncovering the truth. He reached out to some of Dad's old friends, people I didn't even know he kept in touch with, and started asking questions. Through them, he managed to track down his biological mother. Hearing him talk about finding her was surreal. He told me about the moment he reached out to her and how she reacted. The woman had absolutely no idea he even existed. Imagine living your life and then suddenly finding out you have a grown son. He said she was completely shocked at first, which makes sense. I can't even begin to imagine what that would be like for either of them. Apparently, when they finally met in person, they ended up talking for hours. Andrew admitted to me that he had been in denial for a long time, convincing himself that this whole thing couldn't be true even when the signs were right there in front of him. Meeting his biological mother, though, changed everything. He said it made him realize that ignoring the truth wasn't doing anyone any favors, least of all himself. After that, he decided to talk to Mom about everything. According to him, the conversation was one of the hardest things he's ever done. He said Mom didn't yell or accuse him of anything, but she completely broke down. He described it as this raw, heartbreaking moment where all of her pain and confusion just came pouring out. She didn't say much, but he could tell she was devastated. He tried to explain to her that meeting his biological mother wasn't about replacing her or pushing her away. For him, it was about understanding a part of himself he'd been missing. He said he saw how much that hurt Mom, but he couldn't keep pretending anymore. Apparently, she just nodded and didn't say much. It was heavy even just hearing about it secondhand. His biological mother, on the other hand, seems eager to build a relationship with him now that the initial shock has worn off. Andrew seemed cautiously optimistic about it. He said it feels weird trying to connect with someone who's technically a stranger, but also a part of him. I told him it's okay to take his time and not rush into anything. This is uncharted territory for both of them, and there's no right way to handle it. Then a few days after Andrew's visit, Mom called me. It was a short conversation, but I could tell she wasn't in a good place. She said she knew about Andrew meeting his biological mother. And while she claimed to be happy for him, I could hear the disappointment in her voice. I think she feels like she's losing him, like this revelation has created a distance between them that can't be bridged. What really caught me off guard was when she said she's decided to move to Florida to stay at her parents' old house. She said she needs a fresh start. I didn't really know what to say, so I just kept it simple. Okay. And take care. The call ended pretty quickly and I just sat there for a while, trying to process it. Since then, things have been eerily quiet. I haven't heard much from either Andrew or Mom. And, honestly, I'm fine with that. After everything, I'm still waiting for an apology, Something that acknowledges the years of hurt and favoritism, the way they both treated me like an afterthought. But at this point, I'm not holding my breath. I've realized that I can't force anyone to acknowledge the hurt they've caused me or to apologize for it. But what I can do is decide how much of myself I'm willing to give to people who don't seem to value me. And right now, the answer is not much. That doesn't mean I'm cutting them off completely, at least not yet, but I'm definitely not going out of my way to reconnect. I've spent so much of my life trying to earn my family's approval. And now, for the first time, I don't feel the need to anymore. It's freeing in a way. Life has been quieter since then. I've thrown myself back into work and started focusing on things that bring me joy. My kickboxing class has been a lifesaver. There's something about punching a bag that feels so cathartic after everything I've been through. I've also started journaling, which is something my therapist suggested. Writing down my thoughts has helped me process everything and let go of some of the lingering anger and frustration. To everyone who's been following my life story, thank you for your kind words, support, and even your tough love. You all helped me feel less alone during one of the hardest times in my life, and I'll always be grateful for that. For now, I'm focusing on myself and taking things one day at a time. I don't know what the future holds for my relationships with Mom or Andrew, but I do know that I'm finally prioritizing my own happiness, and that feels like a step in the right direction.